some troubling reports that a prosecutor from your office, Jay Bratt, implied to Stanley Woodward that the administration would look more favorably on a judgeship application if he managed to get his client, Walt Nauta, to cooperate against President Trump and to flip on him. And we know this because Stanley Woodward himself came forth with this information. And I guess my question for you, is this appropriate behavior for a special counsel's office to leverage attorneys' future career prospects?
Listen carefully, because what you just heard isn't a throwaway accusation. It's a window into something darker. A federal prosecutor's office is accused of dangling a judgeship, not evidence, not law, not truth, a career reward, to pressure a defense lawyer into flipping a client against President Trump. And the response you're about to hear doesn't simply deny it, it reframes it. But let's confront the reality head on. If the government can even hint that your future depends on your cooperation, then justice isn't blind. It's bargaining. And what happens next shows you why.
Behavior for a special counsel's office to leverage attorneys' future career prospects?
Sir, I believe I can answer this question, even though it's regarding the Florida case, because we did filings on it, and I'm not referring to anything in the final report. And my answer to you, sir, is that when I was first notified about this issue, which was 9 months after it allegedly occurred, this is alleged to have occurred before I was even special counsel, what I did is I directed my deputies to look into it. We made sure the person involved self-referred it to OPR, and then we did a filing to the court. There was a motion by President Trump's attorneys. We responded and we laid out our position, and our position was that I did not believe that that allegation was credible. At best, it was a misunderstanding because the people in the room did not understand any threat to be made. Even Mr. Woodard, in his allegation, claimed it was only an inference. 9 months went by where we interacted with Mr. Woodard, in which we had no hearing of a complaint. When the complaint was raised for the first time, which was on the eve of that indictment being brought, it was raised in the guise of asking the court to delay the indictment while an investigation of it happened. So I take allegations of misconduct very seriously. I would not want any of my attorneys threatening anybody. Ultimately, when I looked at this, I did not credit it, and we responded with our position in court. But we also, it was clear that it was referred to the Office of Professional Responsibility, which is what good prosecutors do in that situation.
Well, again, to say that you didn't consider it to be credible, I guess we have the United States Associate Attorney General, Stanley Woodward, who claims that this threat was made to him, and I don't see what he would stand to gain from not telling the truth there. And I understand that you tasked 2 of your attorneys with investigating those statements made by Bratt, but given the amount of publicity and the scrutiny that was surrounding this entire investigation, why in the world did you not initiate an independent investigation into these very alarming allegations?
Well, 2 points there. You stated that you don't, why would he do this? When he made the allegation, when this allegation first came from President Trump's attorneys and then days later from Mr. Woodard, he did ask for the case, the indictment, to be put off in result of this. So there was a thing he was asking for in result. And with respect to an independent investigation, that's exactly why you refer this to the Office of Professional Responsibility. They conduct an independent investigation outside of my office.
Well, let me just say, for 4 years, we watched the Biden administration politicize and weaponize the Department of Justice. From going after pro-life activists to spying on faithful Catholics, the Biden administration showed disregard for impartiality. And this blatant disregard was perhaps no clearer than in the targeting of President Trump. We've talked about it all throughout this day. They knew they couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so they pursued alternative options. And I'm grateful for this committee's efforts today to investigate this conduct to ensure accountability. And while elections are not akin to jury trials, I feel strongly that the results of the 2024 election sent a clear message about how the American people feel about these politicized charges. And I think they absolutely made a difference in those 24 elections. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Now let's slow down, because that exchange wasn't just a tense moment in a hearing. It was a test of whether federal power can be questioned in public and whether the answers actually satisfy the moral weight of the accusation. Representative Harris put something specific on the record, a claim that a prosecutor tied a judgeship application, a career future, to pressure a defense lawyer into getting cooperation against President Trump. That's not just controversial. That's radioactive, because it isn't really about personalities. This isn't just Trump versus his enemies. This is the government's ability to hint, even indirectly, that your future can be rewarded if you help, or jeopardized if you refuse. And listen to how Jack Smith responds. He doesn't start with the obvious moral line, "That would be wrong, period." He starts with insulation, timing, distance, process. "It allegedly happened before I was special counsel. I learned about it 9 months later. We referred it to OPR. I didn't find it credible." That order matters, because the strategy isn't just to deny, it's to defuse, to turn a moral accusation into a procedural footnote. But let's confront the reality head-on. Internal process is not the same as public accountability. OPR is inside the system, and that leaves the biggest questions hanging in the air. What did OPR actually find? Who did they interview? What evidence did they review? And will the public ever see it in a way that restores trust? Because if the allegation is truly baseless, transparency is your friend. Silence is not. Then Smith leans on timing, suggesting the complaint surfaced conveniently right before indictment, tied to a request to delay. Maybe, but even if timing was strategic, that doesn't make the allegation false. People hesitate to come forward when they think the system can punish them. Lawyers calculate. Clients fear retaliation. And if someone truly believed the message was play ball and doors open, that's exactly the kind of thing people don't shout from the rooftops. So what did we really witness? An accusation that strikes at the heart of equal justice, met with credibility judgments and procedural framing, without the one thing that actually calms a country: clear, verifiable disclosure. That's why this matters. Because when the DOJ is perceived as political machinery, the damage spreads beyond one case. Half the nation stops believing the system is restrained. The other half starts believing any tactic is justified, as long as the target is the right guy. That's not rule of law. That's rule by institution. And here's the pattern you can't ignore. When confronted with moral questions, they pivot to process. When confronted with accountability, they pivot to internal review. When confronted with public doubt, they ask you to accept "trust us" from the very people whose power is being questioned. Watch it again. Listen to what was asked, listen to what was answered, and listen to what was avoided. If you want real oversight, demand receipts, demand transparency, demand consequences when lines are crossed, no matter who's in office. Like, subscribe, and share this, because the fight isn't just about Trump. It's about whether the system learns it can imply leverage and call it justice.